Hello folks, Sean Mize here, and today we will begin the process of script writing and storyboarding our story that you will be using to create a few different things. Number one, the story, the background story that will form the reason why people want to do business with you. Then you'll use this script and story for a few different purposes. One, you'll form your uh, sales materials, whether they're sales letters, whether they're teleseminars, webinars, one-on-one consultations, whatever the case is. You'll form those sales materials around this script and the story. You'll also use the script and the story for delivering the, the product. So whatever it is that you're teaching, you're going to teach it in an ordered fashion that fits with whatever the script and story is that you come out with. And so what happens in the long run is that you have a sales message that is not only appealing because of the story and the script that you've put together, something that appeals to people emotionally, but the product that you deliver will fit in with that story. So the product will be consistent with the sales message. Then for another layer of your script and your story, you will use the script and story also for writing your email campaign so that the entire email campaign fits with your sales message and with your product. Now, if we take this back to another layer, you'll also be able to use your script and your story for your traction elements. So whether that's blog posts, whether it's articles that you write, whether it's advertising that you do, so that there's a consistent message between the traffic attraction that you do, the emails that people receive, the sales messages that people receive, and then finally the product that they consume with you. So let's go ahead and kind of dig into this, give you some background on storyboarding, and then we will do get into a little bit of the script writing. And what will happen is over the course of the next few days, we're going to be layering on additional pieces to your script and your storyboard. So we'll begin with some examples today for your storyboard, and then over the course of the next few days, we're going to add to that. And what will happen is over the next 3 to 5 days, you're going to come out with a script and a story that you'll be able to adapt to everything that you do. So let's go ahead and get started. The concept of storyboarding allows you to think holistically about the entire sequence at one time. I want you to imagine a movie writer trying to adapt a book to a movie. By using a storyboard, you can easily see where the book's parts will go. Here's a visual depiction of a storyboard. And in this example, we're looking at breaking our storyboard into minutes. Okay, so we have minute 1, and that particular shot right there will tell what's going to happen in minute 1. Okay, so perhaps that's the introduction. In minute 2, we'll be able to see what happens in minute 2. Perhaps that is enter the main character. Minute 3, what happens in minute 3? Maybe that is enter the enemy of the main character. Minute 4, what happens in minute 4? Maybe that is the enemy attacks the main character. So now minute 5, we could say main character fights back and determines to win against the enemy. And then, of course, minute 6 is the beginning of some kind of journey that occurs. And we would just script this all the way out through, let's say it's a 120-minute movie. Well, we'd have 120 storyboards. Okay, now, those could be storyboards by the second. Those could be storyboards by the action. So we could have action 1. And action 1 could be the character introduction. It could take 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, let's relate that to what we're going to be doing over the next 3 to 5 days in your business. Okay, the introduction might be on a sales letter. Maybe the storyboard of the sales letter is the first paragraph. Maybe the storyboard of a sales teleseminar is the first 3 minutes. Maybe the storyboard of your product is the intro video. Just like a few days ago, you received an intro video to this. Okay, and without actually making little boxes like this, I storyboarded out the entire training that we're doing over the course of these 10 days. I storyboarded it all out. And in fact, the storyboard is very, very, very similar to the storyboard that I used for the actual sales process. Each of the screens should be a different minute, a different second, or at a macro level, a different hour, for example. So the key is that you can look at it and see what is happening at a glance. That's the real key here, is that you're able to look at this, to glance at this, and you'll be able to say, okay, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening here, instead of having to scroll through a word processing document. You can do it with something like Keynote, like I'm using because I'm on a Mac. You can do it with PowerPoint. So if you're on a PC, you can just have a different screen for each screen. So if we can just imagine, just use your imagination here and imagine that this Keynote that I'm doing is actually a storyboard. So this would be the first story, or this would be the first board, this would be the second board, this would be the third board, the fourth board, the fifth board. Okay, and if you think about it, this is the intro board. Okay, this is kind of continuing that intro. This could be labeled visual depiction. This could be explanation about. This could be more. Okay, this would be my storyboard. You can also use text edit to create a few screens, and why don't I show that to you? I'll demonstrate it with you. So if we go into text edit, I get some other things on here, so we'll just create some new. So notice I'm just going to create a whole bunch of new text edit, and of course if you're in on a PC, then you would use, I think it's Notepad. Okay, and so if you'll just take these, each one of these, and make them into long, skinny pieces here. Okay, now obviously these are labeled, untitled, whatever, 14, 15, 16, etc. You could label these the label name of whatever you're doing for that board. So if you can think of each one of these as simply being a board, okay, and obviously we're doing all this in real time, so everything else, another project you can kind of see in the background, another project I had to kind of run in here. Okay, so now we can look at this, and of course these are named untitled 16, 12, 13, 14, and 15. But what we could do is rename these. This could be intro, this could be first minute, this could be character enters, this is enemy enters. Okay, so if you're doing it for your sales story, which we're really going to get into all the details, so I'm not going to go into all those details. That'll be occurring over the next few days as you layer this on. But this right here could be introduction. This could be enter the problem of your prospect. This could be enter the solution that you have. This could be how the problem and the solution are at odds with each other. And then this could be develop the problem. And then, of course, as we go through the story, we continue to develop the problem, and then we develop the solution, and then people buy from you. Okay. Now, what we would do is I'm just putting some sample language in here. So this could be minute 2. And we just type on these just like this, and we'll be able to see it. Okay. I actually learned this trick from Andre Chaperone, and anyhow, that's where I kind of learned this trick, when you kind of give credit where credit is due. Now, you could actually put as many as, say, 15 or 20 of these on your screen, and of course I'm using the MacBook Air because it's so portable. But if you've got a much bigger screen, you'd pour a whole lot more on here. I mean, you could literally have, if we have these here, we move kind of this one down here. You can see, I don't want to take the whole video, our whole time here, doing this, but I mean, you could easily have, 3 rows of 5 of these on a particular screen to be able to look at them at any particular time. Okay, so that's an easy way to do this visually. This is an especially easy way to write an email sequence. So if you're going to write 15 emails, you could write them just like this on 15 text documents. Now, and again, this is just an idea and a way. This is designed to be a tool. You've still got to do and use what works best for you. Okay, personally, if I'm writing an email sequence, I like to have it all in one document so that I can kind of read it as a document. But when one of the stages that I went through in learning to develop the process of using a story in email was writing a few sequences using this method right here. Now it's easy for me to take a word processing document, have 15 emails in it, but imagine it mentally as being a storyboard. Okay, so it's kind of go back to what we're doing here. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way on paper, and that's what I usually do when I'm storyboarding. I'll take a stack, I buy paper by the ream. I'll just take a stack of 20 sheets, and I'll lay them out on a table, literally on a table, and then I can kind of plug in what I want to. It's really easy to move it all around. When I'm done with it, I just kind of stack it in the order that it is. I can roll it right back out, okay? And then I'm able to transfer what's on that storyboard to Keynote or to the product or to the presentation or whatever it is that I'm doing. You really have to figure out what works best for you, and you may need to try it a few different ways, rather than just saying, wow, I like the way that Sean does it, or hey, I don't really like the way Sean does it. I think I can do it a different way. It has to kind of match for your personality. When I do it with paper, I find it's much easier for me to visualize. I visualize better with paper. If you're a generation younger than me, you might visualize better on a screen. Okay, and again, the key is to find what works for you. Okay, and again, we kind of talk about this kind of younger generation that's coming along that more grew up with computers than perhaps you and I did, unless you're in that younger generation. And then perhaps for you, if you're in that generation, you find it a whole lot easier to just use the screen. You don't like paper at all necessarily. Okay, it could also be something, whether you're younger, you're older, or however you learned, you may be a more visual person versus someone who writes things out, or you may be somebody that's more abstract than logical, or logical than abstract. And so when you're doing this, you want to set it up in a way that kind of fits your learning style. And probably by now you know what your learning style is. You want to set what you're doing up so that you're able to either visualize it or see it the way that is best for you, or read it if it's totally print. For me, by doing it on paper, I'll just take a full sheet of paper for each major idea, and I can scribble thoughts for what will happen at that particular time, and I can add to them. And I'm actually going to demonstrate that process, not today and probably not tomorrow, but going into the next few days. I'm going to do a sample storyboard right on Keynote, and over the course of the 3 or 4 days, as we're layering in the next things that we're going to be adding in. So you're going to be layering in your story. You're going to be layering in your psychological elements. You're going to be layering in some writing elements, some things that get people to really want to spend time reading or listening to or watching your story. And each day, we're going to go back to the same Keynote, and we're going to layer in, and you'll be able to see that develop over the next few days. Now, I'm going to do it on Keynote because it's really the easiest way for you to see it, but you can do it any way that you want. Okay. I also use actions that are going to occur for each different screen rather than a time frame. Then when I finish the storyboard, I'll go back in and add a time frame. So I'll say, okay, how much action have I packed into this particular segment? Okay, that's going to take 3 minutes. And obviously, if we were a movie maker and we were to pull out and we say, hey, we need this screenshot, we need this screenshot, we need this screenshot, we may have to break it into minutes or into seconds or whatever the case is. For my purposes, just saying, hey, this is a 5-minute block, these are the things that I'm going to do or teach or say, that's good enough for me. And obviously, kind of getting ahead of myself there, unlike a movie maker, I'm not focused on time as much as what happens next. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate in the next few slides what this might look like. And remember, in this video, I'm showing you how to do the storyboard. We won't do one for a couple more days. When we write the story and we'll start layering in that theme and the psychology, etc., that storyboard will allow you to maintain the consistency in the campaign all the way through. I'll show the screens, then I'll demonstrate adding some of the components you'll be learning in the next few days, so that when you get to them, you'll be able to add as well in your own storyboard. Okay, so here we kind of have an illustration of this is going to be the first screen with the intro. Okay, now we'll have the second screen, maybe we'll enter the hero, and we're going to get into these dynamics of hero and mentor and challenges, etc., over the course of the next few days. I have the hero's journey set up for your next training. The third screen might have your story in here. Okay, the fourth screen, you're going to teach something perhaps. The fifth screen, you'll tell another story. the sixth screen, you'll transition to a close. And I just want to give you another example of what this might kind of look like. So let's just kind of go back in here in the edit mode. Let's just say that I have an idea and I say something I might want to talk about in the intro. So I might just add to it, explain about, you know, X, Y, Z. So then I go to the next one. I go, oh, I got an idea here. And then I might say, okay, name the hero, give characteristics of the hero. And notice I'm just adding it in here. Okay, and then maybe let's say we put a name to the hero. Who do we want to call the hero? Let's call the hero Jimmy. So Jimmy's going to be the hero. Hey, let's say we go to this third screen, and I don't want to just demonstrate this whole thing out, you know, because we're going to be doing it over the next 3 or 4 days. I just want you to visually be able to see it. So we do something here. Then we come back and we go, you know what? I want to change the name of the hero. Well, that's really easy. We just kind of scratch it out. We say, okay, the hero's name's going to be Sally instead. What are characteristics of the hero? You know, and we kind of list them out. And well, we can come back later and say, you know what? We don't really like that. Let's make that ABC. Okay. So just kind of move on here. And then obviously in the last screen, we'll close out. For the homework, I want you to watch a YouTube that I think will help you get clearer understanding of what I've taught. Here's the link. Let me just kind of give you, if you're totally clear on everything I've just shared with you, you probably don't need to watch this YouTube. However, this particular YouTube, Andre Chaperone showed me a few years ago, and it really gave me some clarity to this process. And the gentleman that's showing this in the YouTube uses still another method to do the storyboard. And so if I think it's only a 5-minute video or 8-minute video, if you gain even one little insight that you use in the future, then it's probably worth doing. So that's going to close out today, and then the following lesson we're going to get into actually kind of going through that hero's journey, that hero's story.